All right, welcome everybody. Excited to get rocking and rolling here. We're going to be talking about this idea of cracking the code on churn. We got the churn doctor himself, Greg Daines. Him and I go pretty much way back. I feel like this guy's the doctor, truly the doctor when it comes to all things customer success. So, Greg, thanks for joining. How are you?
My pleasure. I'm glad to be here. I'm
Yeah,
great. Thanks.
yeah. Where did the churn doctor idea? I mean, I know you've actually done now multiple things, but where did that come from? What was
I
that?
don't remember who coined it. I don't love it to be
I didn't think
honest.
you did.
But
I'm
after a
sorry.
while, I embraced it. I love it. I'm super into what I do, so why not? I'll take it.
Well, and it's funny because I haven't told you this, but yeah, you've come up in one or two, not millions of conversations, but like Greg Dane, and then they will say like, like that churn doctor guy. So I think it has stuck. It has stuck just a little bit. But anyways, we met at our InsideSales.com days. He's obviously jumped off and kind of run this consulting business that's really trying to help people understand how do you crack the code on this retention problem that specifically in SaaS, we just can never figure out. It's been 100 years, but I'm probably doing a poor overview. Tell us about some of the cool things you've been working on since the Inside Sales days.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's all about this retention thing because everything's about that, right? Growth is totally dependent on that. And as a founder CEO, I was a founder CEO for many years, and it drove me crazy, right? How inconsistent it is. You have one customer come in and they do really well and they stand on stage and brag about you. Another one looks similar, yet they kind of go sideways and churn out. Like that inconsistency drove me crazy. And so I started to look at some of the things we say, and one at a time started to discover actually most of the things we say about what works in SaaS and customer success actually isn't even true. And so one of the things we do in our work is we study it. We have this huge data set we've accumulated because we analyze customer churn at all these companies. And so I think we have the world's largest data set on detailed customer retention data. And it's been fascinating. We're able to analyze it and really ask questions that, frankly, I wanted to ask forever. And in almost every case, what they're doing is just knocking over these old, sort of conventional ideas about what works and what doesn't work. And that's been really fun. And what we found is, yeah, there is a totally different kind of mindset that really does actually solve this problem.
Yeah, but yeah, you're teasing us now too much. So we got to dive deeper into this topic because to your point, being on the marketing side, Greg, the challenge I've found more and more, is so hard to just continue to like double, right? I'm going to use the word MQL. It's like every month I got to get 2,000 and then 4,000 and then 8,000 MQLs. And it feels like we just have to have a growth strategy that is more about mining the base, keeping our current customers, growing more within them. And maybe that's just an excuse for me being a poor marketer, but some of the stuff you talk about, it just rings. It's just like, this is a message I think everybody needs to hear. So let's dive in. You were obviously teasing that just a little bit, but I think one of the unique things about you is the data aspect, right? So many, no offense to the book consultants out there who, were at one company and wrote a book on something, but you've brought together this massive amounts of data. You just teased at the end by saying kind of we had some assumptions and a lot of those assumptions that you thought were wrong. Start big picture, like, wow, over the past couple of years, what have you discovered that's been like, oh crap, I believed that and that was not true?
Well, I mean, I'll just start with the biggest one. It drove me crazy, right? And everyone's had this experience when a customer leaves and they say, what a great experience it was working with your company. And you're like, that can't be true. That makes no sense. Or you have a customer that's always complaining and they keep renewing. That contradicts our fundamental belief, which is that happy customers stay and unhappy customers leave. Well, the data actually proves that's not true. That fundamental, it's almost like the fundamental axiom of business strategy for our whole generation has turned out to be false. It's not that it's not the only thing.
You got to pause there because that is, I mean, how many books, happy customers stay, mad customers go, net promoter score, MPS, are they happy, satisfied, whatever word you want, the whole Bain study, the one question that changes the world. So no offense, but yeah, you're kind of going against 100 years of conventional wisdom here.
I get it, but it was my experience. And so I'm sort of like, so the NPS is a great thing actually, because everybody decided to adopt NPS, which means our data is incredibly robust. We can study. And the problem with the old study is they were looking at the connection between NPS and company valuation and growth. The real question is, does NPS correlate to the thing that matters for growth, which is retention?
Yeah.
Do customers that are happy stay longer? And that's what we're able to study. And the crazy thing is, you can go download my book or whatever from my website, but it's crazy. The data shows there's literally no correlation between how happy customers report they are and how long they stay. Zero. It's not a weak correlation, Gabe. There's no correlation. Now, obviously, it matters if we make our customers happy. I'm not saying that. It's that it has nothing to do with why they stay. And so if the longer we build on that and invest that, you know how much money's been invested in customer experience. I mean, it's billions. And by the way, another data point we have on that's interesting. Those investments paid off. There's tons of improvement. Our data shows a steady improvement in customer experience. The irony is over the same period, 5 years, customer retention's gone down at twice the rate.
That I think is where this is getting real is more or less what you just said. I mean, it's kind of like actually even on the growth side as well. It's like the rates of sales reps being able to hit their number are going down even more now than they were, when you and I were chatting back in our days at Inside Sales. Retention, like whatever it is, it's not working. And yes, we have been focusing so much, I think sometimes on like happiness, but maybe we've been focusing on the wrong thing because to your point, it hasn't been working. So that's one of the big findings. And is there another? That one is like.
Well, I mean, maybe just more recently, you were curious, like, what are the latest trends? Well, a lot of people said, look, COVID, like that whole period increased churn. Actually, just the opposite. That was the one period where we seemed to have a pause. Actually, churn went way down during COVID. Tons of fascinating things. What affects churn? If it's not that, what does? Almost everything. So we've tested everything. Discounts drive churn. Free trials drive churn. But the biggest one, here's the most interesting finding in all the data. If all of that's either weak or nothing, then what is it? Like, what's the thing? Is there one good indicator that predicts retention? And it turns out there is. In fact, it's so good, it's so predictive, nothing even comes close. And that is measurable results. I tell people that, customers, if your customers get measurable results, our data shows they essentially don't leave you. Churn for that group is so low, it's irrelevant. Customers who achieve measurable results stay 6 times longer on average than those who don't. So people say, okay, yeah, obviously. No,
I was going to say, I'm like, it sounds obvious, but it's not, because no tool I've ever bought has ever gotten me measurable results.
Well, you don't even know in most cases, because here's the crazy thing. If we really believed that, we'd build tools that measure the results that you get. And almost no companies do that. If we believed it, our customer experience, customer success teams would focus almost entirely on, did you get results and why and when and how much? We don't even do it. We call you and we make friends with you. We focus on your experience. That proves that whatever head nodding we do about, well, obviously, nobody really believes it. Nobody, like, the revealed preference is no one's investing in that. And so
go one more click into that, because what do we do then? So, I sell a help desk tool, right? Let's say that, for example. And I'm trying to just play the scenario out, because when you say it's measurable results, part of me is like, a duh. But now that I'm thinking about it, my brain is starting to fry, because I'm like, I don't know what I sell. So let's say I sell help desk. Let's walk through this scenario. I sell a help desk tool.
So a help desk tool or any other tool essentially has tons of measurement in it. It's measuring what you do. How many calls did you get? How long did it take to resolve them? Were they resolved satisfactorily? You get a lot of reporting for that. But that's not why we have a help desk tool. Why do we have a help desk tool, Gabe? What's the purpose? What's the result we bought it for? Not what do we want to do with it. See, the human mind is wired.
There you go. That right there. That's it. It's not what we want to do with it. What was the end result? Because what we want to do with it is what we obviously focus on. Average handle time, probably. We resolve the ticket quickly, but that's kind of what what the tool is ultimately doing. But the end result is, I think people wanted to, in a lot of cases, they wanted to see this cost center become a profit center. They wanted to actually grow their revenue from this tool. If not, nothing else, actually have people, I think, buy more. That's probably what it was. They wanted to buy more.
Right. Exactly. So the point is, we had a business purpose when we bought the thing, but then we shopped, and what were we buying? Features. We wanted really good, robust technology. So we buy features, we set it up, and all we talk about after that is the things we're doing with the software. When do we ever step back and say, did we get the thing we hoped for? And the company, the vendor themselves, have not made it a priority to make sure that they owe us an answer to that question. And
Yeah,
that to
they
me is
did.
incredible.
Well,
Companies saying they're customer centric because they ask you how you feel. Like, it's so funny. We think we're customer centric because I sent you a survey and asked you how you feel about me. How do you feel about me? I love you. How do you feel about me? Like, it's incredibly well, anyway, you get the idea. The irony is almost painful. What I want to know is, did you get the thing that you bought this for? Now, I have a great story from our inside sales days on this, where a client was complaining endlessly about problems. I looked at the problems, they were real, but none of them were relevant to whether they were getting results or not. So I asked, what are the results like? No one could tell me, not in my team, not in their team. So I pulled them and they were fabulous. Here's a customer who was getting tons of good results. I walk it up to their leader, by the way, who wasn't in the meetings. Why? Because he didn't care about the feature problems.
Yeah.
I showed him the results. He said, nobody's ever showed this to me. This is great news. You see, we've got off track on the whole, like, why we are together, right? What is the whole point? I had this experience years ago. Apple was my client, very difficult client, actually the worst client I've ever had. Complained about everything, demanding, etc. And frankly, it was a miserable experience. This is a kind of a classic CS moment, right?
Sure.
And don't do this. This isn't this is a cautionary tale, Greg. Greg's in this meeting, and I'm like, I said to the guy, why don't you just cancel if you hate us this much, just cancel your contract, please. And the guy said, why would we do that when you get us such great results? And my reaction was to feel embarrassed, because why did I ever think it was about anything else? We've missed the boat here. We have, and frankly, that was a really important moment for me. We're not in business together. I'm not here to make you happy. I'm here to make you money.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And we really need to get back to that. And what we're seeing is the companies that are crushing it on churn are the ones who've essentially committed to that. It's not that they don't want to make their customers happy. It's that can't be number one.
Yeah.
Right. And this is a concern with AI. If we're just using it to leverage more and more customer happiness, it's not going to work. It might save you some money, but it's not going to work.
Do you feel like the reason? So I love that. Must have been an aha moment at Apple, because that's kind of like happiness is on the road to results, or but it can't be like the end destination or something. That's a great story. But do you feel like, I'm thinking again of my fictitious example. Let's say I sell help desk or something, but is it because we often don't build the systems in place to measure that kind of end result? Like, is it part of our tool, or is it really just a mindset, meaning we all get so focused on resolving their bugs and, again, getting that survey back that says they gave us an 8, they'll refer us. Is it a mindset thing, or do we not literally have like the muscle built in? Because I think like maybe it's both. Because, man, I think these companies, they don't know how to do this. Like, you look at any CSM and you tell them you're selling a help desk, now go do an executive presentation on results. It's got to just go boom, blow their mind. Like, I don't know how to do that. How come we're not doing it now?
The conversation you and I just had about this hypothetical proves what the problem is, because it's all those things you just said. The problem was you had to look off camera and say, well, what is a help desk for? Not what does it do? We all know what it does. You see, here's what happens. My clients come to me, we have churn. Like,
we're going to cut that part out of the podcast, by the way. That wasn't supposed to happen. Sorry, keep going.
No, but it's the perfect illustration of what happens all the time. I go to my clients. I'm like, what is, your key customer result? Well, it could be anything. It's all over the place. No, it's not. Here's the problem. You aren't thinking clearly about what you're for. You spend all day thinking about what you're doing. And so, no, you haven't built the systems and all of the mechanization in place to measure it. Probably, and you don't have the mindset, but what does that even tell you? Do you even know what it is? Do you even understand precisely what your customers want from you, what the whole thing was about? And we assume we do. It's an arrogant assumption, because it's not that straightforward, right? Now, the other problem is we have a large number of customers at every company who also don't even know what they did it for. Remember I said they decided they needed to, whatever the thing you said was, like increase our post-sales revenue or whatever. Yeah. But then what did they do? They went shopping for features, and they promptly forgot about what that fundamental goal was.
Cool.
And
well, it sounds like you had that story at that Insight, that Inside Sales story where the leader was like, no one showed me this. Or he was probably even surprised, like, it was like that light bulb, like, yeah, this is what I wanted actually.
Yes, like a
How
year
come
and
I've
a
never
half
seen
ago.
it?
Yes, exactly. Like I haven't heard this mentioned for a year and a half. I was new.
Yeah,
And so it was like,
totally.
thank you. Where did this come from? Suddenly, all that stuff we were arguing about didn't even matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So to your point, one last thing. When I go to product teams and I say, look, our tool is actually really good at producing this result. Is that how you think about your product roadmap? And they're like, no, we get competitor analysis. We're looking at complaints from customers. Our roadmap is chock full of stuff that has nothing to do with that. And that's crazy, right? So maybe the right answer to your question, of course it's a mindset, but it goes across everything. This isn't a post-sale mindset. This is a overall business.
Yeah, because you're saying you gotta educate the buyer sometimes potentially on like the purpose of it again, but you certainly have to equip your customer success team or your team with the ability to dialogue and transfer that what you do versus what you're going to bring to the table type of conversation.
Yeah.
Because that seems like, man, I've been in a lot of QBRs that are, to your point, okay, we've resolved this many bugs. Your average handle time is 5 seconds. And it feels very obviously feature rich. And
And they
how do
still
you?
won't be happy. It doesn't matter. You could resolve hundreds of issues. You could build every feature they ask for and they'll still leave you. It,
Yeah.
it turns out that they could be incredibly, oh, here's an interesting study from our data. So I met this guy years ago who was the COO at Sun Microsystems. They were
Yeah.
huge. They
Yeah.
built the
I,
campus.
I remember I've read a few
Right?
books about that company.
They were massive. Anyway, the guy was like, oh, he'd heard what I was saying. He's like, this is so interesting. We did this study where we divided our customers into two groups: the customers who'd had negative experiences and those who hadn't. And we can do that with ticket data and stuff. We filter it out. And he said, and we were going to go chase it down, but before we did, some knucklehead decided let's just measure the average lifespan of those two groups so we have a baseline, so then we can see if we improve. And they were shocked to discover the customers who had negative experiences had more than double the lifespan of customers who'd never had a negative experience. And they're like,
Wow.
what gives,
Wow.
right? Are we supposed to give them a negative experience? Of course, that has nothing to do with it. What it is that the customers who get results are the ones who engage deeply with your product.
Yeah.
And engaging deeply with your product is what produces negative experiences.
Yes, and actually, that's to your point. It could be a good thing because they're like really running it through the rigor, and they're
Right.
beating it up, and so they're obviously frustrated. But to your point, I can be super frustrated, but I can also be seeing those results. So I'm
Yeah.
happy. Wow,
Yeah.
dang it, that is such a that's like a conundrum, a contradiction, a jumbo shrimp moment here. What do you do then, Greg? I want to get to your thoughts on AI here in just a minute and how this all plays a role, but without giving away too much of the secret sauce, this is the aha that you're helping kind of companies recognize. It feels easy to do, but it feels very different. How have you coached organizations? What's some of the basics to like, guys, couple basic steps you'd give the audience to just start to move from kind of where they are to where they need to be to solve this kind of conundrum?
So here's another one that's a little bit counterintuitive, but go with me on it. Stop looking at your failed customers. People think, look, if we want people to stop leaving, let's find out why they're leaving and we'll solve that and they'll stop leaving. Doesn't work. Never seen it work. Those exit surveys never produce reductions in churn. Why? It doesn't make sense. If we solve a big problem that they said was why they left, then they'll stop leaving. No, never works. And why? It's because all those reasons they give you, you're talking to the wrong customers. You're talking to customers who didn't win, who didn't get results. So they actually don't have any idea what worked.
Yeah.
Talk to your successful customers. Go find customers who are getting results, find out what they care about, how they measure it, and then what they did to achieve it. Because what you want to do is bottle that.
Yeah.
Your post-sale process needs to be, what do the good customers do first, second, third, fourth, step by step, that led them to where they're at? Not where are they now, because your good customers tend to be doing really cool advanced stuff. Don't ignore that. What did they do first, second, and third? And the rest of your customers need to follow a process like that. AI has an opportunity here, but it's not about reproducing what you're doing now, and it's not about customer engagement. It's about combining a clear understanding of what results you drive that are compelling enough that your customers never leave you. And then secondly, guiding customers through the steps. Second suggestion, your customers aren't failing in your software. They're failing outside your software. It isn't, if you look at, that customer fail, well, the story, post-mortem, the story is they were really sucky at their business and they made this terrible decision. It isn't that they can't use your software. That's not the problem.
Yeah.
They're not using your software because they're bad at their business. We exist to help those customers get good at their business. So here's a big, I think, both a big hole in the current model and a huge opportunity for AI if people will seize it, which is we have to combine the tech expertise, which is actually much more trivial than we think it is, with the domain expertise of how you succeed in that business. Just because it's shared experience, I'll go back to inside sales. Our successful customers weren't good at our software. They were good at selling, and they
Yep.
used our software to become
To do
better.
that, to
Our
become better.
failing customers could make huge progress if we would just teach them how to be better at selling. And we have this false idea that, well, you know how they run their business, that's their thing. We just do the software. Big mistake. Cross that
Interesting.
boundary. AI can do this, but we can do it. And I would
Yeah.
recommend doing it first before you hand it to AI, which is what's the magic combination of how you use our system and how you run your business.
So that
That's,
you
I
can
call it
be
expertise. It's not a great word. It's the best one I've got. That's the magic. We go down that road. That's the second thing I tell people. Know what your results are and what works, and then bottle it in a very prescriptive process and step your customers through that.
Jeez, man. Jeez, that is a little harder though. That like domain expert, because love obviously it resonates with me, but you sell a sales tool, but you also have to kind of teach them how to sell. And when you get the combo, because you're right, the best customers they sold pretty well, and then they sold even better with like a tool.
Can I just tell a quick inside sales story? Just because now
I mean,
now I'm in the mode. One of the first things I did was I went to some of our successful customers and I'm like, teach me. So I went to Faraway City. I won't reveal the customer. It's a famous company. And I'm like, you guys are killing it. I saw you stand on stage and give a speech
yeah.
about how good your results are. He's like, oh yeah, this has been great. I said, okay, show me how you use the system. He goes, oh, we don't use the system. I'm like, wait, what? He goes, yeah, there's been some problems integrating it. We're in the middle of it. I'm like, that was 6 months ago when you stood on stage. Like, you've been with us a year. What? Yeah, I know it's been, but we're almost to the end. We're going to get it turned on. I'm like, how do you explain that you said you got better results? He said, oh, no, that's really interesting. When we first signed up with you, we were trained in a better sales method that
Wow.
was independent of and you know all about that, Gabe, because you
Yeah.
probably ran
Oh,
the training. Did you run the
yeah.
training? I
Yeah, I
think you
probably
did.
did.
And the
Wow.
guy
That's
said that
amazing.
training alone, he showed me the little poster in each cubicle. Just those principles have increased our sales 30%.
Dang it, dude.
And I'm
Wow.
like, that is the perfect illustration of what we're missing here. It's not, people don't want your software, they want results. They're not buying software, they're buying results. But here's the main thing: your software, your technology doesn't produce results. Their process change produces results, and your software makes it possible and
Yeah.
scalable.
Yeah.
That's the big that's the big aha moment. So we have to shift from implementing software, selling software, to implementing results and focus on what process. Now, it might seem complicated. The one thing I will say, you're right. It's like, oh, well, that's daunting. I have to do tech and I have to do expertise. No, actually, it's not that daunting. And you know why? Because the customers who need it, the customers who dominate your churn, every company listening, most of the customers that churn at your company are not advanced customers. That happens, and when it does, there's big news and everyone runs around screaming and blood flows in the streets and everything. But the reality is the vast majority of your churn, when we analyze it, is smaller, younger, less sophisticated customers that actually don't know what they're doing. So the good news is the expertise you need is not
Is
actually that variable. It's,
yeah.
if you are in park, here's how you get into first gear.
Yeah,
That's
it's
it.
true. And
Simple.
they have there's that line like a good tool with a bad process, still just makes the
Worthless.
process actually even worse,
Yeah.
right? Or it's like the date, even AI with bad data just is, more bad data. It's just more badness, right? And so it's funny, we often think I'm just going to implement the tool into this process in sales that is broken, and all of a sudden it's going to be no system has ever been a savior. Let's just say
Right.
that, right? It's like you have to put a system into an optimized process. Oh my, Greg, you've got something here, man. This is super interesting. My goodness. Do you so you hit on AI a few times. I just want to end with the AI is all the buzz, and I love that and maybe that's the point you're kind of making. Like, you figure out your process and how you run this, then you sprinkle AI on you've got something even more special. But how does AI fit into some of the stuff you're seeing into the CX world right now?
Yeah. So I think we're going to go through a whole uh, era where we're using it wrong. We're just trying to do CX and we're trying to improve experience, assuming that will work. It won't. So I've made that.
I don't know if you saw, I should send you, McKinsey just came out with a study. They're like 80% of AI stuff is totally failing.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think they're agreeing with you that it's
No,
like,
no
yeah,
surprise. But what I just said is actually kind of special. So if you think, okay, let's do what Greg says, let's do a post-sale experience that combines knowledge of our software with some industry knowledge, which is
yeah,
what we were doing at Inside Sales.
yeah,
And companies do this. It's actually hard to do, and it's really hard to scale.
yeah.
If I'm, I don't know, if I'm SurveyMonkey, can I go out and find people who've used SurveyMonkey to build small marketing operations for small companies? Yeah, there's tons of them, but they don't work for me, and they don't want to be CSMs on my team.
Yeah.
So what I need to do is to find a way to, in a sense, build an ecosystem of that kind of basic domain and technology combined knowledge. The reality is I don't know how to do that in a practical sense. There's people trying to do it a little bit without AI. So I actually think maybe not this year or next year, but soon we're looking at AI, agentic AI that combines knowledge of the software with basic domain knowledge to really help these customers. I actually think that's a huge opportunity because it's really difficult to do with people, even though, okay, hold on, we should do that.
Yeah.
So don't wait for AI. Start now, because only if you've tried it and gotten your feet wet a little bit will you know. Because here's the thing about AI, it'll do what you tell it to do.
That's the problem, right?
Right.
It's back to the old same thing with the old tool we were saying. You can't just throw AI and be this magic pill. I think that's actually what the McKinsey thing is saying. It's like you still have to like figure out the process, or to your point, the domain expertise to kind of put this AI to use, because it's only as good as its master right now. So, oh man, Greg, oh dude, dang it, I need to like rethink my life. Okay, so I have some things I got to figure out. So a lot to take in. If someone wants to learn more about some of the cool stuff you're doing or dive into this, what would you recommend, or how do I get in touch with you?
Well, I have my website, gregdaines.com, or you can check me out on LinkedIn. I've posted a bunch of stuff and videos and stuff. I have a couple like white papers you can download for free. They're really interesting. To have all this research, you're wondering, what is Greg talking about? All the charts are in there. You can paste them into your decks and show to your boss and have these conversations and go to town. But also reach out to me. There's a place on my website. I'm happy to chat. Love to meet people.
Love it. Cool. All right. Well, Greg, again, appreciate the time. Really fun talk track for the audience. Have a fantastic day.
Yeah, you bet.